This is The Fifth Estate, a conversation between young African scholars from the Fort Hall School of Government and Professor Mutahi Ngunyi. When opposites unite, a new order of things is birthed. This is called the dialectics, the unity of opposites or the negation of the negation. When enemies shake hands, the vigor of the shake drops all the hidden weapons and cards from underneath their sleeves. That is why they call it a shaking of hands. And when the hidden weapons fall, a new order is born. In Kenya, the first sign of a new order is this: Uhuru has become a monk, the monk who sold his Ferrari. Uhuru has been spinning a Ferrari presidency with his buddy William Ruto in tow. They have enjoyed themselves as the country salivates for a Matatu presidency instead. But this is bound to change. With the handshake, all the hidden weapons under the sleeve were shaken off. Now, Uhuru wants the country to sell the Ferrari and buy a Matatu presidency. However, we have a problem. Ruto has refused to get out of the Ferrari. He wants to spin this Ferrari presidency alone in 2022. And the question is this: is he wrong or is he wrong?
A while ago, William Ruto told us that he would support the referendum to change the constitution. But he said that he would do so depending on the referendum question. Because Ruto is unfamiliar with the referendum question, we will pose it for him. It has 3 parts. 1. 2017 presidential election was recorded in the Global Index of Nonsensical Experiments as the most expensive election on earth. Fact: we lost 1 billion shillings every working hour for 123 days between August and November 2017. We lost 1 trillion shillings, or 40% of the 2017 budget, electing a president. Fact: the referendum question for William Ruto, therefore, is simple. Are you okay with this? Can we afford to burn 1 trillion shillings every 5 years electing a president? 2. 1 year before a presidential election, the country freezes. No expenditure. 1 year after the election, the country freezes. No expenditure. Every 5 years, the country freezes for 2 years because of anxiety over presidential elections. Every 5 years, we are unproductive 40% of the time. And the referendum question for William Ruto, therefore, is this: is he wrong or is he wrong?
My name is MX, with a small x, a young mathematician. I love math, and I love numbers. Numbers don't lie. They are faithful to truth and to logic. I have noticed that every presidential election in Kenya attracts bloodshed. In 1992, 1,000 people died. In 1997, 1,000 people died. In 2007, 1,400 people died. In 2017, children died. And in the 1960s, people died. And the referendum question for William Ruto, therefore, is this: if every presidential election costs us 1 trillion shillings, 2 years of economic wastage every 5 years, 1,000 innocent lives, including children, is Ruto okay with this? Is this the price we must pay to make him president? 0. Our founding fathers had a different opinion. They taught us that if the facts change, we must change our minds. If we must kill 1,000 Kenyans every 5 years to elect a president, we are a stupid nation. If we must spend 1 trillion shillings to make Ruto president, we are a bure kabisa nation. The third referendum question to William Ruto, therefore, is this: if our founding fathers think we are wrong, is Ruto wrong, or is he wrong?
Albert Einstein taught us that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish will live its entire life believing that it is stupid. Using the Einstein logic, Kenyans are stupid because they are a fish that cannot climb a tree. For a fish, the tree of constitutional democracy is slimy and slippery. We believe that a new constitution will bring us change, but when it brings us bloodshed, we start believing that we are stupid. Yet it was nothing but a fish trying to climb a slimy tree. And this is what Raila is telling us. He is telling us that a fish cannot climb a tree. That a good constitution is not a catalyst for development. It is a result of development. Kenya will not develop because it has a good constitution. It will have a good constitution because it is developed. It is that simple. And the Raila question to the country is therefore this: should we force a fish to climb a tree? And the answer is zero. Our constitution is a piece of historical junk. We must change it. And if Raila is wrong, he must not choose to be right.
A young mother entered a toy shop. She picked one of the toys and was intrigued. Then she asked the salesman, "Isn't this toy too complicated for a small child?" To this, the salesman replied, "It is an educational toy. It is designed to adjust the mind of the child to the weirdness of the world. Whichever way the child puts it together, it is wrong. And this is our constitution for you. Whichever way you put it together, it is wrong. And maybe it was designed as an educational toy to teach us how weird politics is. Because it was an expensive political experiment, William Ruto opposed it. He called it Katiba Mbichi. Then Raila told us that we can always change it later. Now Raila wants to change this constitution. He is just keeping his word. And so we ask, who is the turncoat here? If Ruto was opposed to this constitution violently, why is he violently opposed to changing it? Ruto told us that Raila is changing the constitution to create a position for himself. But is Ruto opposed to constitutional change because he wants to preserve a position for himself?
I support William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, but I'm afraid that today Raila Odinga is making more sense to me than Ruto. Yes, Ruto has won the 2022 argument, but Raila will win the 2022 war. And this is because politics is seduction. Like in romance, if you hold on to someone too much, you suffocate them and lose them. But if you free them, they will come back and find you. By holding too tightly to 2022, Ruto is suffocating those who love him, and he will lose them. But if he lets 2022 go, it will find him. And this is what Raila Odinga has done. He has let 2022 go, and now he is seducing the country with a referendum. And because he let go, we will make him ceremonial president in 2022 or even earlier, who knows? But I have one last submission to make. The 2022 election will not happen under the current constitution constitution. Zero, it won't happen. We will have a new constitution. And if this submission is true, why is Ruto campaigning for a presidential position that will not exist in 2022? Has he turned himself into the philosophical blind man in a dark room chasing a black cat which is not there? Huh?
To sum up, we must ask a few questions. 2022 will not happen under the current constitution. We will have a new constitution, and you can take that to the bank. If this is true, we must ask Ruto the following. Is he campaigning for a position that will not be there in 2022? Is he using a null map to get to new land? Has he become the proverbial blind man in a dark room, chasing a black cat that is not there? Only time will tell. The problem with being overconfident is that you become oblivious of danger. And this is why we invite Ruto to reflect on his current path. And as he does so, he should borrow from Jay-Z when he says, "When I look in the mirror, I see my only opponent." And to this, Kanye West adds and says, "I am my only competition. I do not compete with anyone, I only compete with myself." To William Ruto, therefore, there is no point competing with Raila. Ruto is his own opponent, and to win, Ruto must compete only with Ruto.